In today's video, I'm kind of wrapping up my series of videos looking at infrared photography and infrared effect photography. And today it's black and white infrared effect in Photoshop. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for another One Wednesday. It's that extra video I put out one Wednesday every month when I do things like, well, this stuff that doesn't really fit in my normal in the field videos. And today it's the topic of infrared and infrared effect again. Now, if you haven't seen all of the videos in this, I've been having a little bit of a play. I bought a cheap infrared filter and had a go with that. Mostly doing some wide angle shots without a great deal of success, if I'm honest. I also did another attempt with that same infrared filter, this time concentrating on telephoto. Slightly more successful, but still not really the kind of results I was hoping for. So I decided to have a look at just creating the effect of infrared in Photoshop, and that worked out actually a bit better than I thought it was going to. Certainly better than my attempts with the filters, but it's a bit kind of over the top. The colours are a bit kind of too odd, and to be honest, when I was looking at infrared, I was looking at, in some cases, the more subtle colours, but also the black and white effect. And my attempts to create black and white images from what I'd shot with the infrared filter really weren't that successful. So what I've decided to do today is take an image or two that were shot in colour without an infrared filter and convert them into an infrared effect black and white. And it should be pretty easy. And I'm going to do this, well, in Photoshop, but there might be a little bit of Lightroom work first. So what we'll do, we'll jump onto the computer, have a look at the image that we're going to work with and run through the process. Okay, so this is the image that I've chosen to convert into this infrared effect black and white. It's a tree on Cabezon del Oro mountain. I shot this a couple of years ago. And it's just a normal colour image. This is the raw file with nothing done to it. You can see that we've got some blue sky with some scattered clouds. And one of the things that I've discovered, and I think is an important thing to consider, the images look best when the foliage goes all the way out to the edges of the tree. If you've got lots of sort of sparsely covered branches sticking out, they tend to look a bit horrible. When you do the conversion, certainly with the color conversions, and I'm assuming that's going to be the same for the black and white. So this is the image that I've picked, and I'm going to do some basic editing in Lightroom before it goes into Photoshop. And all I'm going to do in the basics is I'm just going to bring the shadows all the way up, just to bring out all of that shadow detail and make all that green quite bright. I'm also going to put in some vibrance and saturation, probably a fair bit, because I want to use the colours that we've got here to actually create the black and white effect. And you'll see what I mean on that in a little while. And then in the HSL sliders, what I'm going to do is just bring the blues down a little bit, just to make them a bit darker. I need to be a bit careful because if I pull them down too far, it will start to create some fringing around the edges. So probably about there. And then because there's a slight sort of palish tone to this anyway, which is quite normal here early mornings and late afternoons, I'm actually going to just change the hue, push it a little bit more towards the deeper blues. Okay, not too far because I don't want to create unpleasant edges. And that's it for what I'm going to do in Lightroom. Now I'm going to put it into Photoshop. So edit in Photoshop. So here's my image now in Photoshop, and I'm going to create a duplicate layer. Always work on a duplicate layer in Photoshop. Command J, Control J on a PC, and then I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, and Black and White. I click on that, I've now got a black and white image, but obviously that's not what I want. But what you can see here, this is a default preset, and you can see how it's adjusted the various colors, the luminance of the various colors. So it's actually brought the greens down and the blues down a little bit. If I go into these presets, there's one here which is called infrared, and I'm thinking I can use that as my starting point for an infrared conversion. So let's click on infrared and see what it does. Oh, now that is looking quite a lot like an infrared image, but it looks like it's brightening up some of the foliage a bit too much. It looks a bit too intense to me, and the yellows are way up there at 235%, so I'm going to dial them back a little bit. Maybe just dial the greens back a little bit. Yeah. Looks like it's bringing the detail back, and then I want to darken the blues some more, so I'm going to take the blue slider and dial that way back, turning those blues almost black. Yeah, kind of like that. Let's just have a little play. I'm going to just tweak the magentas a little bit. Doesn't really seem to do anything. The reds doesn't really seem to do anything. So I think we'll just leave it like that. And that looks a lot like a black and white infrared image to me. Couldn't resist having another go, another one. Similar sort of treatment to the raw file, but we'll just do the Photoshop bit, shall we? Image, adjustments, black and white, hit the infrared preset, and again, perhaps a little bit too strong on some of them, so we'll pull yellows and greens back a little bit and then bring the blues back. Yeah, that looks pretty cool actually. And again, just tweak the magentas and the reds. Cyans maybe. So that's my go at creating an infrared black and white effect in Photoshop. And I think it works out okay on a couple of these images. Bearing in mind, neither of the images were shot with the intention of converting them in this way. And maybe if I was actually going out with an intention to convert to an infrared black and white effect, I might compose the image slightly differently. But as a little test, I think these have worked out okay. So I said this was my wrap up on infrared. So I've tried using, just an ordinary camera with filters, both wide angle and telephoto, and honestly it really didn't work out for me. The exposures were too long. I felt that the image quality degraded very, very quickly. The attempts that I've made to replicate that effect in Photoshop, both colour and black and white, have been a lot more successful. And to be honest, I think unless I'm going to get seriously into infrared photography, which would mean having a camera specifically converted, either converted for specifically for infrared or converted into a full spectrum, and then using specific filters with it. I think the conversion process, or the effect in Photoshop, is a much better way for me anyway. And I still don't feel that the environment that I am normally shooting in is a particularly great environment for infrared subjects. So the cost of another camera and the infrared conversion is probably not something I want to do at the moment, but who knows in the future. I will continue to admire other people's infrared work, and you never know, I might be tempted occasionally to take an image out in the field and just run it through that infrared effect in Photoshop, either colour or black and white. And I guess keep watching my videos and you'll see if I do that. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, you know the routine. Likes, shares, comments, all really appreciated and really helpful. If you've enjoyed this video, if you want to see what else I get up to both on the computer and more importantly out in the field doing photography, then don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. So thank you very much. And until the next video. Bye.